Hi guys, it's Beth. Welcome to episode 1 of the Remorseless Podcast. And the first thing you need to realize is, I don't know what I'm doing. The second thing you need to realize is that, honey, can you shut the door? Okay, bye. Hi guys, it's Beth. Welcome to episode 1 of the Remorseless Podcast. And the first thing you need to know is I have no idea what I'm doing. Not in terms of talking, because that I came out of the womb doing, but in terms of all the details. How to produce it, how to get it out there, how to do it in such a way that you're not just going to be like, oh my gosh, one more podcast. Trust me, I know. And what I also want to say is I have been meaning to do this since before podcasting was a thing. And I think that is what has really been keeping me. I know so many people, a generation above me, like my mother's generation and my mother-in-law's generation, and people who are in their 65, 75, 80-year-old age range. And for their entire lives, they have lived how they were supposed to live. There is no supposed to. God only literally says, live like I made you to be. That is what I care about, you guys. I care about trying to encourage others on their journeys to say, I will not listen to these people or these narratives or these constructs or this institution, cult, go on with it. I will not listen to those people or places because I know who I am inside. And we're going to get to that. I'm going to share with you guys how to go about that in a way that makes sense, that is not this way exactly. Follow number 7 in this book of the Old Testament, follow this rule here, argue this to get your way, or this is what it really means, and this translation. I went back to school to study it. I've gone through Hebrew and Greek and scripture and professors telling me and showing me, and I've really, at the end of the day, done this. Deconstructed. Okay, I know that word sometimes can be overused, but it is an imperative word to understand how to unravel all the stuff that's in your head and why you feel so stuck and why you feel so ashamed and why you right now are living with remorse. The remorse has got to go. There's no guilt. There's no guilt because we're actually like super free to be who we are. And it's the other people that say, this is a problem, you are a problem. Those are the people that you have to be okay with tuning out. And I get it, it's hard work. This week, I'll tell you a very quick story and then I'll be done for today. Until next time. This week, I got a phone call out of nowhere. And for those of you who may or may not know, I was in corporate sales for 25 years. I left that whole world last year to write the book. And then I found myself, God's providence, which I always say, I used to think was like Kevin Bacon sort of 6 degree of separation. Like, oh, it's because you knew this person who knew this person. Yeah, it's really, it's some of that. But there's definitely collaboration happening, right? With where we're supposed to go and who, what, it, she, him, her is helping us get there. So anyway, I left that career. I now work at a homeless shelter. And as part of that, I handle the communication side of things. And I get a phone call from somebody who says the following. Hi, sorry, I'm laughing already. Do you know that the Democrats are single-handedly killing babies? Followed by, do you also know that the Democrats are, I can't even get through it with a straight face, are the reason that the church is suffering? The Democrats, those people. Okay, first of all, I am so over dualistic thinking. This left, right, rich, poor, black, white, 2 choices are not enough in life, okay? They're just not. So how are we supposed to feel when we get a call from some dude named Hal, who's like 90 with a lot of time on his hands and who obviously doesn't know a whole heck of a lot of people with different ways of thinking. But how are we supposed to say, oh yeah, it's this way or that way? What if it's all the ways? All the ways. I used to push back, like I said, when I had questions, and I had a really good friend who for many years would talk scripture to me. And I was like, really, wow, because I like smart people. And I like somebody who is really knowledgeable. And it's like, I've studied this thing and I like to learn. So I'm like, please tell me, impart this information upon me because I don't know it. So I had a really good friend who was a Jehovah's Witness. And I was always wowed. I'm like, wait, how do you know all this? How do you know what scripture says? Until I went to school and studied it. And then I had a different perspective of it. And then it was like, okay, well, conversation over. And that's okay. It's okay. But what I'm saying is there is not just this way or that way. There are so many ways. And I think that's actually the story. If somebody said, do you know the way to God? I'll be like, well, I know my way. I know my way because that's how he made me to understand. The way that I understand is through words and writing and competitiveness, right? Like I'm a competitive human being. So when somebody says to me, hey, there's like two sides to this and Jesus is on the winning side. And then there's this like other spiritual warfare side thing that goes on, however you term that. And like just somebody wins and loses. All right, I'd like to be on the winning team. For as long as I can remember, you give me a ball and a score and somebody wins and loses, like I'm in. I'll figure it out because that's all I want to do is win. And I want all of us to win at this crazy game of life. And the way to do it is acceptance, is to be like, this is how I see it. And that's okay. I am okay with seeing it this way. I don't have to figure out just because if you see it differently, I don't have to question myself. I wonder if I'm wrong and you're right. Like, who makes them right? That's my question. Who made them who they are is the same entity, is the same God who created us to get to him. I'm saying him, right? We're talking about the pronouns. You've heard me say it. Speech. We're limited by human speech. But it's the same entity and creator that made that person who thinks they're so right, that made me, that thinks I'm so right. And I don't want to waste the rest of my years fighting with people going, it's my way, I know I'm right. Because what I really, truly think is that we're all going to end up at the same place anyway. You want to call me a universalist? Cool. I'm good with that label at this point in my life. I don't think it is about the labels. I think this whole thing transcends labels, which again is why I wrote this book about what it feels like when we are labeled. And what it feels like is suffocating. Like, why are you limiting me? Why are you calling me this one thing? I am so many things. Ask all the people that have hung out with me. Ask my... Okay, yeah, I've been married more than once, but whatever. Ask people that have spent time with me if I'm just two things. That'd be a funny conversation. I might invite them on the podcast too. Two ways of thinking is suffocating. And so the rest of that story goes like this. This dude named Hal is on the phone with me telling me about those damn Democrats and how they ruined the church. And I'm like, Hal, I hear you. And I know that you have a heart that's in the right place. And I respect you because I do respect my elders and different opinions and people in general. I do respect the fact that you want to think like that. That's okay. But I'm not okay with being told how I think. And he said the words to me, you can't argue, Hal doesn't know me, you can't argue the fact that the Democrats are responsible for the church. You can't disagree with that. You can't just ignore that fact. And I said, oh, but Hal, I can. I personally, Beth, me, I can ignore that fact and disagree with that fact. And I do, in fact, disagree with that. Because I don't think it's any one person, place, thing, idea, what is that, like a noun in English, that caused the demise of the church. No more than I think that it was one person that caused my questioning of who I am. No more than I think that it was one institution that really caused the downfall of many societies in the course of history. It's not just one thing, it's the whole culmination, right? So I said very calmly to him, I appreciate your perspective and opinion, but Jesus transcended politics. That's where I land. I don't want to get into a contest over left or right because it's about so much more than politics. If we are really going to be the people that we're meant to be, then rise above all that noise, right? That's what I'm saying. Don't let yourself be confined by a church, by a building, by a party line ticket. Those things don't necessarily in any way, shape, or form inform who you are. You can have your political leanings, and I hope that they would be not just one way or the other. Not just those baby killers or those, I don't even know all the, I'm tired. It tires me out. Because again, Jesus didn't care about religion, right? The guy, Hal, said to me, you can't deny the fact. And I was like, Hal, Peter denied Jesus 3 times, right? Peter was like, yeah, I don't know him. Why did Peter do that? Because he didn't know how to deal with the pressure of society saying, do you know this guy? Peter's like, no, man, I don't. I'm out. I don't know him at all. So we can deny whatever we choose to deny. And finally, at this point in my life, and I hope to teach you in the course of this podcast and other videos over the course of your life, you can learn to deny things too that aren't your truth. It's okay that your truth isn't everybody else's. Hear me say that again. It is okay, preferable, authentic, real, legit, the way it's supposed to be if you don't agree with everybody else's truths. Because you have your own. And your own matters because you matter. This whole crazy journey of life matters. We are here for a very short amount of time. Life is fleeting. People in and out of your life, fleeting. Opinions, fleeting. Okay? You got to learn to figure out what you stand for. And what I stand for is the fact that there are 2 things that matter. Not all the checklists in the Old Testament, not all the stuff that we fall flat on our face about and go, oh, I suck, I'm terrible. No, you don't suck, you're not terrible. It's not about those things. It is about, my head hurts, can you tell? It's about the 2 things that Jesus said. Love the Lord your God, all your heart, soul, might, strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. Who's your neighbor? Love your neighbor as yourself. You know who the neighbor is? Neighbors are all people. Like everybody, not the dude down the street that you're fighting about the property line and who's going to pay for the tree to get dropped. Not that kind of neighbor. Not the kind of neighbor that bakes you chocolate chip cookies and like has a welcome wagon or whatever when you move into the neighborhood and you're like, I don't know, do they spit in these when I made them? Not those kind of neighbors. Neighbors meaning everybody, okay? Everybody. There's a whole thing in the New Testament. Gentiles are grafted in, all right? The Jews are like, no, the Gentiles are out. The Gentiles are like, hey, do we matter? And this is an ongoing question. And I am here to help you stop questioning if you matter, to stop questioning if you're going to the place that you're going to. And I'll get into that whole thing too, because I mean, arrival, do we ever really arrive? No, because I don't think that's the story either of Scripture. I think the story of Scripture is kingdom now, kingdom not yet, eventually intersects. I think the whole point is we struggle when we show up in the now, worrying about the not yet, and we're trying to figure out who we're supposed to be in the not yet when you're already that person. Like, just be the person that you were created to be, okay? Be that person. That's all any of us can do, and that's all any of us should be doing. So don't try and pretend that you are someone or something you're not. Don't try and get on some bandwagon or say, oh, I'm going to be in this classroom and all these people are talking this way and oh, I must now like talk that way too so that I'm accepted. You're already accepted. And you're made to think differently so that you're not thinking the way that somebody else is so that we can progress as humanity. So that it's not like this whole way of thinking of just, oh, those Democrats are going to be the ones to demise the church. Okay, Hal. You know, back in my earlier days, I would have probably pummeled people and ended up in jail and asked for fruitcakes with, I don't know, saws to get out of jail to be sent to me while I'm in there. But it is okay to rage against the machine. The machine sometimes breaks. Hence my camera/voice issues on this podcast for the last 20 minutes. But the machine is meant to be raged against. We are not meant to rage against ourselves. That's it. Why do you want to keep doing that? I hope you don't. And I really hope you'll continue to join me here on the Remorseless Podcast. You can also go to Remorselessly Biblical. That is going to be on Instagram soon. That's going to be a whole other set of video teachings where I go through and talk about all of this, like a different way to read Scripture, because guess what? There's not just one way to do it. All right, guys, thank you for being here. I hope this was helpful, and I will catch you later. Peace.